Hi, Jason from Sightsolutions here. In our previous video, we had an introduction to Reflow and how to get your project started with regards to themes and general layout for look and feel. And in this video, we will be taking a look at how to set up a building for floors and rooms before we start to assign those areas to our equipment. So let's get started and have a look. Okay, so we're in the web browser within the Reflow service. And let's just change this into Reflow config. Now we're going to set up our building. So if we have a quick look in my station, just to note that my station is actually running with dummy data, so it's not actually a live site, but I've built it just for this occasion. So we've got two buildings in here. Got building 1 with some fan coil units across 2 floors and a basement, and building 2, similar setup with some fan coil units with an office and a gallery. So we'll look at equipment in the next video, but to help us build that equipment list, we have to set up our building. So this is what we're going to do today. So if I just fold that away for a second, so you want to go into your buildings within the Reflow menu on the left hand side when you're in Reflow config. Let's click on that. So I've already got a building listed here, but it's completely blank. There's no floor plans, there's no equipment, because obviously we're starting afresh. So I'm going to keep it as building 1. And if we come into this menu here, you can see there are a number of items that you can set up for that. So I'm going to keep it called building 1, but you can change that to whatever you wish. But let's add a photo to it as well. So let's go into browse and go into my assets folder. And I'm going to add a building 1 picture. Just a random picture I found on the internet. Okay. And as you can see, building 1 also has its own sub navigation. And then this can be set up through here. So I'll cover navigation in another video. But for now, this is pretty much covering all bases with what you would expect to find in a building, the key areas that you want to look for really, with alarms and schedules and that kind of thing. So let's come back a step. Now you can add cards to your building dashboard. So this would be your landing page for your building. Now what we want to do is perhaps put a location information in here as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a location by the precise location box, and I'm just going to select, I don't know, let's just choose an area in Cardiff for our building 1 location. I'm going to put it there right in the middle of the city centre. So there's a reason for that, and I'll come back to that in a second. So I've given my building a location. Now, obviously, you can put the coordinates in if you do know them, if you want to take them from perhaps Google Maps or any other navigation website that you get information like that. Not choosing any favorites. And you can add address information and city in here. So I'm just going to put Cardiff in here. As you can see on the menu, not on the menu, on the hero card, that information is there also. So let's go back a step. Now, before I start adding floors and various other bits and pieces, let's add another building, just so we can then populate the map, and then we can go back to the landing page and we can add some cards then for some navigation from a card perspective. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add another building, and straight out the gate, it's just called building 2, which suits me fine. I'm not going to call it anything special. I'm just going to call it building 2. So let's add another photo to that then. Let's go to assets and building 2 and click OK. So now we effectively have 2 buildings. So when you go back to your building menu, automatically going to bring up your map. Now there are various different ways you can get to your buildings. I think, yeah, the Reflow license, basic license, comes with the ability to add 3 buildings. and then you can bolt those on. So do check out our website, or give the office a call to see how those licenses suit your needs. So you can come up to the navigation here, either to look at all buildings, or you can choose individual buildings this way. And as I say, this is where you kind of start your journey within your project. So all of this is going to make sense because you're going to start building things up, build the foundations, pardon the pun, to start adding areas and locations of where all your equipment resides in the building. So I'm going to just go back to the main page. And if we scroll down, you can see now we've got sort of personalized pictures to represent our buildings. Now we've only got a one location here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into building 2, and I'm going to do the same as I did for building 1. And I'm just going to choose a random place in London. So let's go to London. Giving this scroll wheel a little workout. I'll just choose National Gallery. Here we go. Let's click OK. Hopefully now, when we go back onto our main buildings page, we can see that the map has automatically updated that for us. So if we go into the buildings index page, this is where we can change this information on this map. So again, as I mentioned in the previous video, your theme does pull through to other aspects of within your project. So if I wanted to, I could change the marker colors to green, or I could, if I wanted to, change into a custom color of my choice. Let's go with a lighter blue like that, and let's put the opacity a bit more solid. In fact, I think that's probably very similar to the primary color. It is. Well, let's just go with primary then. So you can then, if you do have some buildings that are on various different outstations, it does translate into whether some of those points are down or in alarm, or disabled, not disabled, or they are in fault, and that will come through on the markers here. So you can choose those to how you want. So you can either have active alarms and choose your color, or you can have your building status. So now, because I'm on a test station, as it were, and I don't actually have a live site connected to this project, I'm just going to choose disable, but feel free to have a little play around with those. And then you've got your switches here where you can turn various items off. Now these are more for the map popovers, so if you hover over, say, my building 1 based in Cardiff, I can start turning items on and off. I haven't got any alarms in there, but the building stairs, I haven't got that either. But the floor and device display, we can turn that off. So you can kind of customize how you want these to look as well. So there's a nice level of detail there. And then if you did, for example, if you were perhaps updating a site where the location is moving to a different site, and perhaps you want to move all of that information to a new building within a site. So it might be, I don't know, say building 2 in London has now moved to a different building, but it's part of the same site, as it were. You can then come into the building markers here and change those locations by, like I showed you earlier. So you can still get back to those areas and customize them to suit. So yeah, that kind of covers the buildings map now. You know, there are other various different modes, layouts and styles that you can use. So you can have just the map on its own, or the map and the grid, or if you did want just the grid, you can have that. So it's all sort of switchable and very quick and easy to customize. You can have different dark styles, or you can have streets. So you know, you can really get down to what you feel that you want to represent, or perhaps how the client wants to have their map style. So fully customizable. So I'm going to choose light for now. Keep it that kind of crisp look. So let's go back. So we've added 2 buildings. We've got one in Cardiff, one in London. Let's go back to the landing page, and I'm going to just add 2 cards. So just gives that other level of navigation. So, you know, most people might just be happy with using it up here in the navigation. Some other people quite like cards from dashboards. But, you know, just to show and demonstrate how we can do that, let's do that. So I'm going to add a card. And I'm going to select the buildings map, which we've already set up. So as you can see, you've got your Cardiff and London set up, so it's automatically pulled through. And that's it pretty much for that one. You can turn off card hover animations and you know, as you can see, a lot of stuff that's in Reflow that is an additional layer to where you want to go does give a little hover, and you can turn those off if you want to, but I'm going to keep it on for a second. So we've got our building map there. So let's say we want to add specific cards to get to our building. So let's do that. So let's add a card, and I'm going to add if I can find it, a hyperlink card. Okay. So I want to select where this card is going to go. So I'm going to select, and it will go to this area within Reflow with its own nav structure. And I want to go to building 1. I want to go to the top level of building 1. So I'm going to click that and click OK. So it doesn't look like it's done anything, but if I was to click that, it will take me back, or take me to building 1. Let's go back. And that card is there, but we want to edit that. So let's give that a title actually. So we're going to call that building 1. Okay. And let's add the background to the image that we brought in earlier. So let's do that. Let's go to assets and our building 1. Okay, so we've added that. Now you might be thinking, that text doesn't look all too great. So you can customize this a little bit. So if we go into the font color, I'm going to change that to a custom color. And I'm going to change that to I think that's slightly, no, that's white. That's white, that's okay. But what you can do now, you can do a background tint now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to introduce a sort of lighter blue. Let's go with that. And then you can alter the opacity there. Change that so it pulls that text or makes that text pop a little bit. So I'm going to go about there. So it's not too heavy. Here we are. Perfect. If you consider that to be perfect, you might not think so, but I'm going to keep it there anyway. So let's go with that. And that's pretty much it. So you can change your text positions. You can have it to the left or have it in center, have it right. So the great thing about Reflow is that you can make changes without having to manually, as you may have experienced in other supervisors, of having to drag things around and trying to get everything level. It's just options in this way. So you can change your font sizes to suit. So I'm going to go with a large font. But what I am going to do, because I don't want two separate cards to take up this space, I am going to change the height of this. And I'll show you why. I'm going to go a half size. You might already guess what I'm about to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down to here now, and I'm going to duplicate this card. Okay. And what's going to happen, rather than me going back in and trying to find that color and the opacity again, I've kind of got those locked in now. So what I can do is I can go into my other one and just change that to 2. I can just change the things I want to change. So let's change that to the building 2 JPEG. There we go. And we want to change the hyperlink to building 2. There we go. So already now we've added a few dashboard cards that can take us to building 1. And if we use this menu, we can go to building 2. Or we can use our global nav up here, we can change it from there. Or if we click home, we can go back to the landing page and we've set up our links that way. And we can also use the map to get around to your buildings that way. Okay. So that pretty much covers the navigation and just setting up your building as, you know, bricks and mortar, as it were, within the Reflow project. So now what we want to do is we want to add our floors within our buildings. And the reason for that is this is going to complement your equipment when you start to bring things in. So we'll cover equipment in another video, but this is going to set your base for where that equipment's going to live. So when you start bringing your equipment, you're going to be adding it to floors and areas that you set up from the outset of when you set a building up. So let's do that. But before I do, let's just quickly remind ourselves. We'll go back into our software tree, or our nav tree within our station, and I'm in my software folder, and let's have a look at building 1. So building 1, the fan coil units, we've got a floor 1, a floor 2, and a basement. So let's do that. Let's just fold this up just to make it a little bit more accessible on the screen. Let's go back into our buildings menu. Let's click on building 1, and we want to add our floors. Okay. So, does what it says on the tin there. Let's add a floor. So we want to keep our floor plan type, and I'll cover the floor plan builder in another video. But for now, we just want to get our sort of markers, our labels, and these things to exist within our project, and then we can tune them up and decorate them a little bit better as we go. So I haven't got any thumbnail photos for this, so I'm just going to keep it as the generic reflow background for now, because all I want to do is just add floors, and that's all I'm interested in doing at the moment. So we've got a floor 1, we've got the floor enabled. We'll keep featured off for now, but we want to keep it in a reflow type. The reason for this is, as I've shown you, we want anything that you add to a reflow page, you want it to be able to be sized based on the device that you are using. So best to keep everything in reflow as much as possible in that kind of style. So I'm not too concerned about any of this at the moment. I am purely just adding in a floor. So I'm going to add floor 1, keep it as floor 1, and we've got a floor 2 and a basement to add. I'm going to duplicate the floor. That's done a copy of floor 1, and I'm going to change that to floor 2 and come back out. Now you can, if you wanted to, if you've got a pretty extensive building with multiple floors up into the 10s, you can do it like this, and you can call it a label, and you can do your starting floor number and add it that way, and you can change your ordinal indicators to suit that. But I'm just going to do it a manual process because I've only got 2 floors and a basement, so let's just do that. So I'm just going to add basement for that one. There we are. Now what you can do, as I haven't quite covered yet, you can see that floor 1, floor 2 and basement on this page, the cards are, I would say, in my opinion, not the right way around. So what you can do is you can come to the left hand side of your nav, you can just drag this up. There you go, all done. So basement, floor 1, floor 2. So we've done building 1. Let's go and do building 2. So I'm just going to remind myself. Building 2 has an office and a gallery. So technically not a floor, but it's an area. So we want to call it office and gallery. So I'm just going to do that. So we come back a step. I want to make sure I'm in building 2. I want to go to floors. I want to add a floor. And I want to call this office. Keep everything as it is. I've got that one. I'm going to add another one now. I'm going to call that one gallery. Okay. So now immediately, we've got some key areas now. So we've got our, go back to the very beginning. So we've got our buildings and where they're situated within the UK, or it could be globally. We've got the capability now to click into those areas. And now we can see the floors. Now what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to add some floor plans to these areas. And we're also going to onboard some equipment. And as I say, you build your building first, and then that complements your equipment and where that lives. So what that's going to do is Reflow is going to take all of the information that you bring in, it's going to tag it into its locations, and then you're able, as we'll be demonstrating in the next video, you'll be able to see sort of mapped out. Reflow will intuitively show you where everything is, and you can go and find it around your building. The next step after that then is the floor plans, and then we're going to add equipment to those floor plans, so you have a navigation capability from a floor plan perspective, rather than it just being in a list format. So we'll have a look at that. So I think we'll stop it there. That about covers it for this one, and we'll have a look at equipment in the next one. So please do leave any comments down below, and also if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or would like some further information about Reflow, please do head to NiagaraMods.com or our website at onesite.solutions. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.